A little while ago I did a video showing the new granulating colours from Gansai Tambi. So this is set number 2, the Cosmic set. It seems to have got into a lot more shops now, so I thought it was about time we revisited it, and I thought just for something a bit different we'd use it on this really thick cotton rag paper, handmade paper. So let's see what happens. Hi everyone, Jane here. Thank you for watching my video today, and if you are new then welcome, and if you're a returning viewer then welcome back. Thank you ever so much everybody for all your support. It really does help my channel. Now a few weeks ago I did a video about the new granulating colours from Gansai Tambi. So this is set number 2. I'd previously done some videos using set number 1, which was the Aurora colours. These are the new Cosmic colours. Now when I did my video I really watered them out first and allowed them to split, and then I did some swatches on, this is on Bockingford cellulose paper, or cardstock I should say, because it's 300 GSM, and this was on Winsor & Newton 25% cotton 300 GSM cold press. They're both cold pressed. And then I did a project in my Etcher sketchbook on 100% cotton cold press. So I will link that video at the end if you would like to see it, and I'll also pop it in the description box along with what I've used in there as well. So I thought today for something a little bit different, I'd do a project using this book. Now I haven't used it on my videos very much. It's an indigo Artway journal. It's with handmade cotton rag paper. It's very, very thick paper, and as you can see it's made with, I think it's old t-shirts, like recycled t-shirts in India, and I just thought it would be something a little bit different. I like to see how paints react on different cards and paper stocks, because what you use them on really does change how you get an effect. And also instead of mixing them up in some water beforehand and allowing them to split, I thought I'd use them straight from the pan and see how we get on with that. Although I am still going to add lots of water, because to get your granulating and your splitting types of effects with these paints you really do need quite a lot of water to really get the effect of them. Now these sets, I have to admit, when I bought mine they were the same price on Amazon UK, because I am based in the UK, so please do be aware of that. They were the same price as I paid for the set number 1. They went out of stock quite quickly, and since they have come back into stock I have noticed that they have put the price up of set 2. So the price I paid is no longer the same. I can't remember if I said the price in the first one. I originally paid £20 for my first set, and I paid £20 for the second set. The last time I looked it was just under £23 for the second set. I don't know about the first set now because I didn't look that one up. I think they were selling out quite quickly still. I only looked on Amazon, but they may now be available in other places, and I know they are available now in other places around the world, so it's, you know, worth checking out different areas. Any links I put are not affiliated, so I don't get anything from them, so do just please use that as a guide or a reference point. Always check out your usual suppliers and your local suppliers, because that's probably where you are going to get the best deal, especially in terms of delivery. So I'm going to give them a little try out without watering them into a separate pan. You get 5 colours, and then you get this separate pan, which is the idea is you then can mix up your paints in there to help them split more. Now I don't generally do that. I either use a separate little ceramic bowls, or I will just take them straight from the pans. So I am going to use all of the colours. I'm going to do something on here in a minute. So we've got Cosmic Red, Cosmic Olive, Cosmic Green, Cosmic Blue, and Cosmic Violet. So I'm going to get my tape. I'm just going to do one page. I might slightly go onto the other. I love the deckled edging of these as well. Now this tape is not too bad usually for tearing, but I think I have had more problems sometimes with tearing on this paper because it is a very different sort of texture to, you know, your usual cold pressed or hot pressed cotton paper. Like I said, this is a cotton rag paper. It's handmade, so you get lots of little lumps and bumps. It's not perfectly smooth. So if you like something a bit different, it's a really fun sort of paper to use. But if you know, want something very, very smooth, textured but smooth, if that makes any kind of sense. Hopefully you understand what I mean. So something regular, I should say, something uniform. Even if it's textured, you can recognise that it's the same. I don't know why I'm putting that away. I still need. I want you to put this into. I want to put some. I think I'm going to do 3. I'm going to put some lines down here. So if that was about the middle, that would be about 1/4. So that would be about there to get it into 1/3. This is my wonderful measuring system. And so we'll go about halfway. I'm not trying to get it exact, I just want it a rough division into 3 parts. Yep, so if you like something a bit more uniform, I don't remember if I've already said that now, then you might not like this type of paper. Now I'm going to use, these are also by Artway, the same company that has the journals put together. I don't know if they make the journal, if they just import the journals. This is Artway. They're based in Wiltshire in England, and I got a set of 3 of these. Let me see if I can find, there we go. So that's the set of 3 that I got. I just love this. It's so soft, and I just love this sort of binding of the ferrule. I just find it really really lovely to just look at, if nothing else. So I'm going to use the 2 bigger ones because I want to really get some swooshiness into here. Got my 2 pots of water. Now the Kuretake Gansai Tambis are a different formulation to a normal Western sort of watercolour, so they are more opaque. So they act in a different, I was going to put water down first, wasn't I? No, I forgot. So let's just get some colour and some water down. Let's pop them in. So I just want to put some stripes. I'm not trying to do anything clever here. I just want to get some colour down, and I'm hoping that that's going to stay under there. So let's do a bit in the middle here. They do move nicely, these paints as well. And let's do a bit down here. Might go back in and add some more colour onto these ones, just so that they're a bit darker, and I will then leave them to dry naturally so that they can split as naturally as possible. Now you do get different effects, I do believe, depending on whether you put them into a separate bowl and then put the colour into them, or whether you just take them straight from the pan. What colour shall I go with here? Let's go with the Cosmic Violet. So let's get a bit more in there, get it really in the brush. Do that one there. Let's put a bit up here. I can already see that may go under there because that was not stuck down very well. And I'm not worried about them blending in together. In fact, that's what I sort of want. I want to get some nice blending effects so that they are merging a bit into each other as well, just to see what happens. And this is what I love doing, sort of abstract type of backgrounds like this. It's just really nice to see the different effects you can get. Already I can see that splitting there. Let's go down here. We'll go with the let's go with the Cosmic Olive because it's got a bit of purple in. So that's already sort of gone down into that water. Now if you didn't want them to blend as much, you could allow them to dry in between. I like the effects you get, but also I'm quite impatient, so I like to sort of just get the colour down. Let's see if I do that. See, you can already see that's going to blend together, but I just want to put a little bit of that in there. See what happens. Oh, I thought I could hear thunder. It's not. It's my washing machine. And let's go at the top of here. Now, this colour, I always think this colour looks really bleh, when you put that's a technical term. But when it dries, you do get a really nice effect, and it splits into the olive green and the purple, and it's actually really nice. So let's go a bit here. Let's go with, oh no, I don't want to go cosmic green. I want to go with cosmic blue. Hold on, I've just gone in the wrong colour. Now your water does get very murky quite quickly because these paints are a lot more opaque than a normal watercolour, so you do get that sort of cloudiness in your water a lot quicker than you would do normally. Now, where I've got this really big puddles, I will probably get my kitchen towel and take some of that off because I don't need all of that puddling there. Go a bit up into there to cover that bit there, and let's go here. Like I say, I'm not worried that the colour is then running into that. That is all part of it. And then the final colour is the cosmic green, so let's go across there, bit of the green. The green one, in fact, is the least splitting of the 5. It does stay very much a green. But I have to say, I think my favourite is the red. Although having said that, I do love the purple as well. So in that, so I might get a little bit of mixing there. That's fine. And let's go into here, bit of the green. Right, so I'm definitely going to have to take some of this water off, and then I will leave that to dry, and I will be back and we'll decide what we're going to do next. I did have to dab up quite a lot of water. I didn't realise how much I had put on, and I gave, once I could see that the granulation and the splitting was already underway, I did give it a very gentle heat with my heat tool on the lowest setting. I have the heat tool that's got 2 settings, so I went with the low one. If you had the Tim Holtz hairdryer style one, you could use that as well. But I just wanted to point out, this is that olive. And I have to say, of all the colours, the one that really changes from when you put it down to when you let it dry is that one, I do believe, and it is absolutely beautiful. I do always think that the red with the cosmic red is my favourite, but actually that cosmic olive is really stunning the way it changes, I think. I do really like the cosmic violet. I like them all. I would say probably if I was to say one was my least favourite, it would probably be the green, just because it doesn't have as much of an effect as the others. But I mean, it still does split. It splits into like a very lighter green and a darker green, or even a blue. It's got the granulation, it just isn't as obvious as the others. I think that's what it is. But I mean, they all work beautifully together, and as I've said before, as florals, I think these would be really lovely. Now, I really like how these have blended together, so some of it's gone up into the red there. They've sort of merged together a bit, so like the blue and the red, you can't really see so much where the line between them was there. And I really like that, and I think that would make beautiful landscapes, beautiful like spacey, outer spacey type looks. But I thought I'd go with the sort of flourishy, flowy feel. And I've got this Tim Holtz stencil. I've had this Tim Holtz stencil for ages, and I have to admit it's one that I don't really get out, but I love flourishes, so I don't know why that is. But it's a THS032, so I will list everything in the description box as usual. And I'm going to just use some gold, I think something quite subtle on the background. And I've got this, is from Hobbycraft, which is a big sort of craft chain store in the UK. It's fairly inexpensive paint. It's just a gold acrylic, so I thought I'd use a little bit of that. And I'm going to get to my stipply brush, which is my favourite type of brush to use, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the side there. Put out less than you need, because you can always put more out. You can't generally put it back in the tube. Now I always have to think about how I work, because I do have a tendency to put stuff down and then I'll be leaning it. So I'm right-handed, so if I do that, then I'm leaning in that. So let's start on the left. This is how I have to try and think about it. I'm going to use the tape as a bit of a guide for an edge, because this stencil, I think the reason I don't use this stencil that much is because it is quite narrow and you've got these very cut off straight edges, and I like stencils where I can blend, you know, out a little bit so that it doesn't look so blunt of an edge. So that's why I'm going to use that edge of it to be the edge, and then I can blend it sort of out where it's not on an edge. That's a lot of the word edge in there. So I'm doing a little bit of stippling, so going straight from above to make sure it's not going under the stencil. Then when I'm happy that there's hardly any paint left, I'm just blending out on that sort of edge so that I get hopefully a gradual fade. Now if I want to go back in and maybe darken up some of the areas, I can do that. That's why I always start with less paint than more, because you can go back in. You can put even if you take your stencil off, you can usually quite easily find where it went, and you can pop it back on. You can add more layers in. But if you put too much on to start with, it generally goes underneath, and then, you know, it's too late, you've done it. So that is absolutely gorgeous. I love that. So now I've done that one there, I'm thinking I'm going to go up from the centre here, because again I've got those edges. Luckily this fits really nicely in that, so I think I'm going to go there, there and there. So I'm going to be quite precise with this one. I'm not always. Often I am very, very abstract and not really, and random. I don't believe you're ever totally random. I'm just keeping my fingers on that while I just put a little bit more paint out, just to hold it in place. But like I said, if it moved, you know, it's not too much of an issue. You can get it back on there. And I just push areas down as I'm going on there. I don't worry about sticking my stencils down, but of course you can do that if you would feel more secure. You can get things like repositionable sprays that you can use that will stick it down temporarily, and then you can just lift them up afterwards. So let's go back down that bottom bit, and then when I get up here, then I'm just going to take it and just gently hold it. You have to be a little bit careful when you've got things with very thin parts to them, that you're not, you know, lifting up too much. But most stencils, not all, but most stencils are pretty sturdy and will, you know, allow you to get away with a lot. So that's that one there, and then let's go. I think I'm not going to do it the same. I think I'm going to do it that way. Which way did I do it before? I did it that way, didn't I? Or what about if I use that corner? Well, let's use that corner, because that would be a bit different still then, wouldn't it? And then let's go. So we're sort of making it quite precise really on this one. So I'm not going straight into that big blob. Hopefully that is in shot. I take it sort of from the edge and then tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it. So it's going into the bristles. Now I apologise if you've heard me say this lots of times. So I know we always get new people who may you know, be wondering why I do things the way I do, or how to get better sort of effects with your stencils, because one of the things that I have always been asked the most is how do you stop that where the paint is going underneath, you know, your stencil, and you get sort of quite a blobby look. And there we go. So that's that one. Now I've got a bit of paint left there. Now you could get rid of that, or I could actually just take my stencil onto the other page. Let's just start a page. Sometimes if you just got things left over, just pop them somewhere else. You probably can't see that bit, I apologise. I'm just putting the paint through the stencil on the other page. That's now started another page, and it will match this page, so that's quite a good one to use. And I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I'll be back. So that is, I think, dry. I haven't dried it with the heat tool. Acrylic paint is quite quick drying, but now I'm thinking I'd like something on here that's a bit in contrast, that's a bit of a silhouette. So I thought I'd get out my Dina Wakley collage paper, because when I looked on the back, I have got these flowers here that I'm pretty sure I haven't used, because I do have a tendency to either use the faces or the circles. So let me just see if I can find a sheet with the flowers on. I think that's it there. It would be the one I can't get to. There we go. I think that's 2 sheets with flowers on. So I haven't used the flowers at all. And I'm just thinking that a lovely black flower from the collage tissue would be nice for that. Now, I'm liking this one. And I'm going to, I think that one, and that. I want them all to be quite standing. So I'm wondering if I cut, where have I put my scissors? They've gone. Somebody, I think, has borrowed my scissors. That's not very good, is it? So I'm just going to do a rough cut, just because I don't want to be trying to work with the whole sheet. I wonder actually if I could go with that one, and then a little one, and a bigger one, and a little one. Let's go around this bit. We might even put more than one on some of them, but I don't, sometimes if you've got too much to play with when you're trying to get things, out, it may be more difficult. So, make life easier for yourself. Now I'm going to use a brush and some water to tear around these. So I'm going to, when you get this collage tissue, you will notice that one side is very smooth and sort of shiny feeling, and the other side is a more matte. Now, I was once told, after I've been doing it the other way for ages, that it's easier to tear if you put your water on the back where it's the matte side, because the front side is where the printing is. So that's obviously going to be the more glossy side, that's harder for the water to penetrate. So if you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, if you just go to the back, and then all I do, I might need a bit more water than that, to be honest. Sometimes you do need to be a little bit patient and let it soak in. We already have established patience is not one of my virtues. And so you then can just, if you hold your fingers either side of where you put the water and just tear, then what happens is you get this fluffy sort of edge from the fibres of the tissue, and that means that when you then go ahead to stick it down, now I'm tearing off some of the edge of this, I'm not worried. When you stick it down, you'll get a more blended look when you're putting your tissue paper down. If you cut it with your scissors, you're getting, a blunt sort of edge from where you're cutting those fibres. So this just, if you are worried about, if you want it to blend a bit more, now don't worry if you tear into it, because once you stick that down, it's not going to matter. Now, I do find with the Kuretakes, they don't lift too much if you accidentally get water on them, or if you put your collage medium down, they don't sort of blend back up, they stay where they are. Now I'm just wondering, whether to take my tape off before I stick. I'm thinking that might be a better idea. Let's tear them all out first. Right, let's leave that one to. So I'm being very being quite slapdash here, and you can be a lot more careful when you tear images out. I don't know if I'm going to use all of these, but my theory always is if I'm starting to do something, if I'm starting to cut something out or tear something out, or you know, stamp images, then I might as well stamp more than I think I'll need, because it's easier to put them in a pot and use them for another day than to then have to get everything back out again and, you know, do it all over again. It's sort of, I find it an easier way round of doing things. And like I say, if I don't use them all, then what I will do is I will pop them back in the packet and I will use them another time. So you don't have to be too precise with this either, because it's the tissue is going to go quite translucent when you stick it down. It depends. Sometimes it depends on what you're going over as to how translucent it gets. Sometimes you will see a little bit of a, see, as I'm dropping that water on, I'm wiping that off. It's not moving that at all. Obviously it won't move the paint because that is acrylic, so that's now permanently there. I'm just sort of popping them on here. I'm not, this isn't where I'm thinking they're going to be, it's just where they're going while I'm tearing the other ones out. I could have, in, you know, normal circumstances, would have probably moved everything else off the table while I'm doing this, but I am just going to leave it there. Now if you get like this and you get a bit that's just got that sort of quite straight corner, you can do a bit of tearing of that as well. So I'm just putting it in the bin as I go, just because. Now you can sort of, if you can sort of just pick at bits along the edges if you want to as well. So let's pop that one there. I don't know how many I've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in theory I could have 2 on each, because I like to have things in 3s, but I've got my stenciling. So in a way I could count that I have got 2 collage elements and then a stenciled element would make me 3 things on my each section. I don't always have to have 3 things the same. It might just be 3 things that I want to, you know, my eye to be able to move across. I think the reason it's in 3s is because it's odd numbers are more pleasing to the eye. There's a scientific reason to do with your eye looking for matching pairs. But the thing is, if it looks nice, it looks nice. If you like an even number of something, you like the look of it, then obviously you go with what you want to do. It's your project. You know, don't let other people with their rules tell you what to do. There's no such thing as rules as far as I'm concerned in art and craft. You know, obviously there are some things that can make things look more pleasing than others, but that's, you know, then your choice whether you follow that or not. Obviously, you know that certain colours mixed together will make certain other colours, but it depends on what you want to do. Oh, that's getting a bit close. There we go. Right, so we've got those. Let's put those to the side, and I think I'm going to take off the tape. Now, I don't think it's torn it. I think it was already... Has it torn? No, it hasn't torn it. I think it's just a little bit rough looking anyway. Oh, it did tear it slightly there. I was being a little bit slapdash there, wasn't I? I'd got a bit cocky there. I thought, oh yeah, this is fine. Oh, yeah, it's slightly tearing it out, which I did think it would, because it is a very rough sort of paper. Now let's have a little look. So we could then have them see coming right off. Now if I get to a point where I think, oh, that's got too much paper there, then you can just, like I said, just go back into that and do that. Right, I'm going to, I think, vaguely have a, I think coming off the edges of the boxes actually looks really nice. I like that idea. So right there. Maybe one. And because it's tissue, if I want it to go over onto the other page, it can do that because it's going to bend with, you know, with the page. I'm thinking that actually I might go like that and just have the 5 and keep, or do I want to have that bigger one there? Oh, I think I like that bigger one and keep that one. Let's go with that to start with, and then let's see. Oh, I'm using the Liquitex Professional Matte Medium. Well, that was a bit of a noise, wasn't it? And I'm putting some down. So as you can see, look, that is not really moving. They're very different sort of watercolours to Western watercolours. They're, you know, specially designed. They were specially, I do believe they're specially designed to work on things like rice papers. So now let's pop a bit down. If you are putting this down and it's not blending as much as you want, sometimes if you put a bit more on the back, because sometimes it's just that it's not got enough of the medium, and if you pop a bit more on, it gives you a better outcome. Usually I find it's right on the edges, because where I've put the medium onto the tissue, I haven't always pulled it right to the edge. Now you do need to just be a little bit gentle, you know, don't be really rough when you're placing it down, you know, because you can tear it. The good thing is you can then put it back together, but you know, if you don't have to tear it, it's usually better. So that's that one there. Let's go with that, I think. And because it's translucent, I wouldn't say transparent, because you can see it a little bit. Because it's translucent, you can layer them up. The more you layer them up, the more you will start to see a bit more of that tissue. Like, it's not going to be totally black through there, but if you wanted to, once it was dry, go back in with something like a paint pen or a permanent marker, you could go in and, you know, recolour that line, which I might do, so that you could colour that. Because it's just a silhouette, it's not going to be too difficult to just get that back in there. I'd like that. That's really nice. I do really rather love it. So I'd sort of give a rough guesstimate for where that's going to go. So this time I'm going to make sure I am going all the way to the edges of my tissue, and let's go. So we're going over onto that one a little bit. So sometimes I leave my tape down until the end, and I do everything so that it's inside those, you know, those boundaries of the tape. But other times it is just nice to have something going outside of the boxes. I just think that looks quite cool. Right, let's go this one here. And then I will leave this to dry. Let's go, I want to maybe go a little bit that way and have that one coming over. And then I do think it still needs something, so we might have a little bit of stamping, a little bit gentle stamping, not anything too heavy, something quite fine. I think something that will match with the stenciling in the background, because I think we've got the sort of the silhouettes, so that's our focal points on here. I'm not going to do too much to this page, I don't think. See, again, where I'm sticking the tissue over the top of the other tissue, it is now making that sort of a bit more muted behind, so I could go back in with that, like I say. But as you can see, it is not moving these paints. So they are, I'm sure if I really sprayed loads and loads of water and I really got my brush in and I scrubbed, they would move. But if you're just doing something quite gentle, they are going to stay where they are. So let's leave that to dry. Let's put that in the water for the moment, and then I'll come back and do something else. Okay, so I have dried this off, so you will see that when it's dried as well, a lot of that paper that you could see a little bit has now disappeared. But I will get, is this a black? I do sometimes get my blacks and my silver pens muddled up. So this is a black Posca, so I could then just go over where that was, so to make that just stand out a bit more, even though it has sort of come back through a little bit more once it's been dried. But if you did want it to be a little bit blacker, you could put that back in. Also, if you wanted to then add, you know, some highlight, oh, that's not working, is it? Come on. Some highlights in with your white pen. That's dirty, don't know what. It's got sort of like a yellow on it. Come on, come through, come through. Must have been using it for something else. That one maybe run out. Let's get another one. Oh, that one's got black on it. I've obviously been using these for all sorts. It's dirty as well. This is why you should not put dirty pens. Let's use the Copic Acrea. That should hopefully be okay. There we go. That's a bit more white. So if you want to put some highlights in, you can do that over this matte medium, especially with things like an acrylic pen. Acrylic pens will go over things like that. Obviously, if you're trying to put something water-based over the top, that's a different matter, and you would maybe need to add something like a primer, like a gesso, over the top before you could do that. Even then, you might be struggling. So do think about, you know, the order in which you do things. So if you're going to put matte medium down, you might want to then just be adding things that are permanent over the top of that, so not, you know, your water-based products. But just a little bit of white just to add to that. That's quite nice. When you eventually found a white pen that was going to be okay. And it's the unicorn, isn't it, of the art and craft world, white pens. So I've torn up some bits of paper because I want to do some stamping, but I don't want to go out of the boxes. I want the flowers to be the thing that goes out. Now I've chosen an Archival Hickory Smoke and an Archival Black to do my stamping, because I want to now, because I've now got this really stark black, I want to create something slightly matching, but not all of it too stark. So I've got two of my own stamp sets. These are stamp sets I designed for Cleverprints, so I will link them. I don't get any money for links, so, you know, even though I designed them, I'm not don't have affiliated links with Cleverprints. I don't get paid to make videos for them, but obviously because I designed the products, if they do sell, I am entitled to a small commission. Not that you don't get that passed on to you, that's just from the cost of the stamps. So I've got Make a Mark and Positive Affirmation. So I'm going to use one of my favourite from the Make a Marks, which is this circle. Now these I designed by, I've had household rubbish, you know, it's objects that I used, and I can't, for the life of me, some of them I cannot remember what it was. That was the bottom of the chocolate box. This was some cardboard packaging I had. This was drywall tape. This was bubble wrap. This one I can't remember, but this is actually one of my favourite stamps from this whole collection, from this whole set. So I'm going to use that one with the grey in the background. Now I'm not going to put too much stamping on. I just want a little bit with the circle, and then I want a little bit of text just in the black, just to echo the black that's in the collage paper, because I think that's needed. But I have got my bits of paper just to mask off so that I don't go on to those lines. So if I'd been thinking, I might have decided to do this bit before I remove my tape, but because they're quite, you know, straightforward lines, it's okay. It's quite easy to just pop a bit of paper and do that. And don't forget, you can always do that, you know, if you don't want to get your ink everywhere, you know, just get some scrap paper and just mask off, you know, where you don't want it to go over. So we've got that there. And I'm going to do one over the flower because it's not going to really show, I don't think, on the flower. And I don't mind anyway, even if it does. So let's have one there. Whoops, that didn't really come out very well. And it did obviously stick to the stickiness of that. So it's very, very pale. And I think I'll have one down the bottom. So let's just, again, just grab the paper, put it there. I want it all up that way. And we'll just have it there. It is a trickier paper to stamp onto because it is quite textured. Right, let's go, I think here. Keep going to stick that into the ink and I haven't got it there. Right, so let's go, I think here. Like that. And there. So in some places it's coming out darker than others. It depends what it's going over. But Archival is pretty good for most things. Now I want to go there and I also want to go into that top corner. So let's go. There we go. There we go. So we could also add a little bit of colour into that if we want to. We could go back in with the Kuretake and add some colour in there. Might be an idea actually. See how it layers up on top of each other. Let's just do a little bit onto that one, not as much. It is better to take your ink to your stamp and not do what I'm doing there, but sometimes when you've got a smaller stamp or you're just trying to do things reasonably quickly, it's, you know, just as easy to do it that way. If you're doing a big stamp, I would always say take your ink to your stamp to make sure you get the good coverage. So that's that. Then I do want a bit of text. So I've got my positive affirmations. So these are just, it's a string of words. So it's you are kind, you are precious. Then we've got choose happiness, choose joy, choose positive. I like the choose one. Be bold, be brave. I think we'll go with the choose because that's, we're sort of choosing, aren't we? So I just sort of put together lots of positive sort of words, and I'm not going to put this on a block. I'm just going to get a little bit on my stamp and just put it in like that. So I can sort of make sure I don't go over the edges too much. Even if I go over a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Let's go like that this time, because I can sort of see where I'm stamping. You don't always have to put everything onto a block. I think having the stamping around your image is always quite nice. So let's put a little bit more around there, a bit there, a bit there, just to, it just highlights the image a bit more as well. A bit up there. And if you are, you know, don't want to get this, the straight edges or the ink ranges, just go more into the middle of your stamp, so you're bending it up a little bit. Let's have a little bit more there, just a tiny bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So 4. If you want it to be a bit paler as well, just don't ink up again. Go carry on with the ink you've already got on the stamp. I like that. Let's pop that over there. Now I am going to, I think, add a little bit of colour into these, just with one of these. I don't know, let's go with a smaller brush. Let's go with this one. Oops. What shall we go with? What one? I feel, oh, yeah, I'm tempted to go with the, we could go with a different colour in each one, couldn't we? Maybe just the one in each. That might be quite nice. Let's go with a different colour in each, can't we? Let's go with, got quite a lot of purple up here. Let's go with a little bit of the purple. Ooh, that's a bit, let's water it out a little bit. Don't want it to be, take a bit of that out. Don't want it to be too strong. Let's take a bit off there. Take it out into that. Quite like that. Let's do that with that. Let's take that out a bit into the bobbly bits of the stamp. There. And let's do this one at the bottom here. It's on the pinky one again, but I don't want to do the pinky one again. Let's do the green. I need a tiny bit to, oops, maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe watered that out a bit too much. Again, let's just take a bit of that out. That one might struggle a bit more because it's going over quite a strong colour, so let's just, I just want to give it a little bit of something. Yeah, I think I like that. Right, on here I have got a sentiment. Was it? Today I choose joy. Oh, I think if I stamp that out onto black with some white embossing powder, that might be nice just to go on the page. I think that would be nice. I think I'm going to do that. So I'll tidy this up and I'll just quickly come back and do that. I decided to do the embossing off camera, but I'll just show you. All I did was I used my anti-static bag on some black card, and then I stamped with some Versamark embossing ink, and then I used superfine white powder to sprinkle over and then heated it. Just to save time, I just did that off camera, and I'm just going to pop that on here, and then I think I will call this page done. Now this glue is not going to come out, is it? Oh dear me, it's always the way, isn't it? Let's just get a pokey tool. Please do be careful if you do things like this with your pokey tools into your glue. Do you know what? I don't think it matters what glue it is. They all gunk up at some point because that is just the nature of glue. Glue is sticky and dries out no matter what you do. So let's use this one from Indigo Blue. I do find this one actually, because it's got a twizzly nib that pops out, it doesn't tend to dry up like some of the others do that have a different sort of nib on them. So they're just any white acrylic glue will do, or if you wanted to make it a little bit more 3D, you could use things like your glue gels or your foam pads. So let me just lift this up for you. And so there we go, using the set 2 of the granulating Kuretake paints and some collage paper, a few stamps, stencil. Fairly simple, but I think it really looks really nice and effective. And I think I should have gone with an alternate colour on the purple, because actually where I did a different colour, that's shown. Where I just did the same, obviously it's just blended into the background. I've just realised I should have done a different colour, but never mind. So hopefully you enjoyed my video today, and if you have, do please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, that would be really lovely if you could. All of the interactions, the comments, the likes, the subscribes, they all really help YouTube to know that if they need to or they want to promote my video to more people. So it's really, really appreciated. So thank you ever so much, And as always, everything will be in the description box, and have a lovely rest of your day. Until the next time, bye bye.